So I've been hunting for more story games recently, and I went digging through my Epic Games library. To my surprise, I stumbled across this, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now hear me out, I know a lot of you probably know that this game is kind of a gem, but as a Marvel fan, I feel like this game wasn't really promoted as much as it should have been. I feel like people, including myself, also hated the idea of a Guardians of the Galaxy game because it's not the actors we know and love from the movies, so why would I want to play them in a game? It's just kind of hard for me to connect with the character. Somewhat the same reason I didn't play the Avengers game that was released a few years ago, but that was kind of just a wreck in itself, so that doesn't really count. I went into this game expecting a dumpster fire, genuinely. I was basically playing it to pass the time and make fun of the game, if I'm being honest, but I ended up falling in love with the game. The dialogue in the first hour is so corny, dude. And it just feels so wrong seeing all these actors try and portray other actors, if that makes sense. It feels like they're trying to replicate the movie, but really, really badly. It felt like some kind of live theater rendition of the movie, and it just didn't feel like I connected to it at all, because it just feels like they're impersonating the actor. I understand that, we do have connections to the movies, etc., but unless it's the actor, try and do your own thing with it, because that's the whole point. You look different, you sound different. Don't try and sound like them. Also, Peter Quill's hair just flew all over me, so. But honestly, the mission started really giving me a reason to return to the game. The objective itself felt pretty pointless at the time, but it felt like it needed to be done. It's just paying off a fine, and as pointless and random as that is, I feel like it kind of sucked me into the game because I couldn't leave it on that note. It twisted me into this vine, and I was now kind of locked in the story. Before we continue any further, spoiler warning for the rest of this video. There's going to be things that are spoiled in a sense. I kind of forgot to mention that right now, but if you're going to play this game for yourself, I'd probably click away. But I think if you're watching this, I don't think you really care because it's like 6 years old anyway, so meh. Whatever. The way this game changes the story of Peter Quill honestly adds so much more depth to the character in my eyes. I know it's probably not accurate to the comics. Don't get me wrong, I love the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but the game kind of just unraveled his background story like a present, ironically enough, if you guys actually played it for yourself. As you play through the story, you kind of keep getting these flashbacks into seeing how Peter Quill loses his mother. You see that it's almost a lot sadder than the movies, at least in my opinion, because, spoiler warning, probably click off now and I understand, but the fact that Peter got handed down these otherworldly weapons from his father, Ego, made so much more sense to me than just the random winky-dink of, oh, Peter got picked up by a ship outside the hospital his mother was sick in, he ran out emotional, and then, oh, he got blipped up into a ship, and now, it's like he's a runaway stowaway. The way the game did the story is he touches these guns, and immediately all the other life forms from all around the galaxy come after him because he's basically royalty. Being related to Ego, he's basically half a god, or half a planet, whatever you want to call it. So they want to capture him and kill him. Once you finally get through all these cutscenes, you realize that he had to watch his mother die in front of him, which that in itself is already so horrible. And then he also, on top of that, was taken off to the other end of the universe and captive. So it just feels a lot more crushing than the movies did for me because there's so much more confusion and responsibility in this one. In the movie's rendition, he, obviously he's a bit confused because he's randomly in space and he's with all these strangers and they're threatening to eat him. But now he knows for a fact that he's never going home. His mother was home. He doesn't have any other family there either. And the only way to get another piece of home was creating the Guardians, which brought his home back to him. That's his family now. And getting to see him juggle that decision in the Promised Land is really tragic. Same thing with Drax's backstory. It crushed me so much more seeing him deal with his grief of his family and losing them, and him actually experiencing it in real time instead of just being this emotionless shell that he is in his movies. Seeing him actually get taken by the Promise and seeing him dream of his family and how he misses them and getting to see his past more than just hearing some random whims here and there of him being really edgy and trauma dumping. It's really hard for me to watch, but in a good way. It's depressing. I wish they could have let Dave Bautista do this in the movies too, because as good of an actor as he is, I feel like it would have been amazing. He's slimming down now and he said he's never going to play Drax again, but I really wish he'd return and do that because I feel like he could play a more slender Drax. It would be a younger Drax or something, but de-age him. I don't know. Just figure out something for him. I want to see this. You know the weight of losing a family member, and that's why Drax is kind of relatable, but in the sense of he lost them to Thanos, and then in this game's universe, he killed Thanos with his own hands. Yeah, the deed is done and he killed the person that killed his family, but to see him realize that he's never going to be able to get him back and having to pick the Guardians over his own family instead of staying in the Promised Land was just depressing. So depressing. Stabbing his own daughter and wife in the back, literally right in front of you, and crying while he does it is just Again, it wasn't on my damn bullet points to expect me to have such a connection with Drax, the one dude from the movies that I didn't care for. I really wish we could have explored Rocket's backstory more, just as much as Gamora's backstory as well, because I would love to see the difference between the characters in the MCU versus this game, because I know it would have been amazing, and I would have loved to see Gamora's, but more so Rocket's, because I feel like that would have even been more sad than the movie, and I literally have a dog named Rocket and Lila. To be fair, I know that would have been overkill because the game's already around 20 to 25 hours long just to beat the main story. But it really would have been cool to see. It would have been Red Dead Redemption kind of long, but it would have been really, really strong in the character development. Speaking of character development, seeing the Guardians develop into a team more and actually having to bring them together as a team by picking the right dialogue was perfect for a Guardians of the Galaxy game. You can either bring the team together or completely tear them apart, and your decisions in this game affect the characters. If you play to them and respect them, they'll be so much easier to work with, and they're going to be so much more kind to you. It really pays off in the end. For example, instead of chunking Rocket like a bag of rocks across the valley, just find a different way. You don't have to throw him. You do not have to throw him. I nearly threw him because someone in my chat told me to throw him, and I'm like, no, I'm not throwing him. And I'm talking to you, Oscar. If you watch this video, I'm talking to you. I'm not throwing damn Rocket. If you let Gamora go off and kill Goldilocks, or at least try to, she likes that you trusted her to do that instead of trying to recoup her and make her stay with the team because you're scared for her. She's the daughter of Thanos. I don't think anybody's worried about her other than whoever she's trying to kill. Every little decision in this game matters when it comes to the dialogue and even talking to the random NPCs. For example, I didn't think Worldmind would be a part of the story too much after they just told you to go screw yourself, but if you bring it to their attention that they haven't thought of everything, they will come back in the later fight, in the final battle, and be like, hey, I'm here. You actually thought of something I didn't? I'm going to help you. Let me blow up all these NPCs for you, which I was so happy for. I do not want to fight all those damn NPCs. Same with Cosmo. If you free him from the promise by telling him about his puppies and bringing him back to the world instead of him living out this dream in Russia back when he was on Earth, he brings the entirety of nowhere to help you fight. Okay, just kill everything around us. I'm going to be so real. I thought that was the llama doing that. I was like, Jesus, the llama's real.
Is that you in there? Spasiba, Guardian of Galaxies, for helping Cosmo.
Since you freed him from the promise, Cosmo brought nowhere itself to bring you back up. Hell yeah.
That is Snake. And look, Cosmo is bringing nowhere.
Yeah, we noticed.
And family. Say privet, my pops.
And if you guys know, Cosmo's a really sad character all in itself because he's based off of the actual dogs they would send into space in real life. So seeing him kind of fantasize about being back home, I was almost tempted to let him live in that dream, but I couldn't because the promise is, you know, obviously it's wrong. If you recoup with old Miss Hot Pants, which I'm in love with you, Lady Hellbender, please. She'll end up bringing her army of creatures to you to help you steamroll the entire enemy team because she's insane. The differences of the dialogue and your choices really give the game a lot of replayability, just like a game like Life is Strange or something like that, because making different decisions is going to change your outcome, which kind of makes me want to replay this on stream, so keep your eyes peeled if you see me streaming this again. Something I really fell in love with this game as well is the worlds felt really alive to me. And I know I say that in a lot of these videos, but seriously, this one felt alive. It's really rage-inducing, don't get me wrong, because there's a lot to explore, and I'm not exactly the smartest person on the planet Earth, but it's very similar to God of War. It's a very streamlined campaign where you go through the story, but the maps are kind of open for you to explore. And yeah, they'll tell you, hey, come on, let's move on. But if you find something, it's cool. You can find outfits, those weird components for upgrading your blaster and jet boots. It's really neat. For example, one of the final rooms you go into, you get to use your ice gun, make 2 platforms, jump across, and you will find like 1,000 components to upgrade your weapons before you go out and do the final boss fight. It's really cool, and you got to keep your eyes peeled because you will miss them. The game's not going to make you pick them up. Speaking of that, the boss fights in this game are really fun. I did play it on easy kind of, so it wasn't hard obviously, but I will admit it was buggy enough where I didn't want to play it on any difficult settings. I didn't want to play it on hard, and medium would have been okay, but it just wasn't in my book. It definitely can be a buggy mess, and mostly when it is a boss fight, because whenever I fought Fin Fang Foom, I had to completely restart the fight because for some reason, he just got frozen spitting into the air. There's no other way to say that. I think he's dead. Don't tell me the whole fight's glitched, because his health bar is empty. Don't tell me his whole health bar is glitched. He's not dying and his health bar is empty. So now we got to restart because it's glitched. He was trying to spit the rocks up in the air and land the big spikes, and it was just frozen that way. And I sat there and got his health bar all the way down, and it did not kill him. It's not the only instance of that happening either, but I don't feel like digging through the footage. I think it was one of the big boss guys where, like, I walked up, he jumps down, and for some reason, I killed him, and then the wall that he jumped down off of didn't slide down and let me go to the next area, so I had to restart, kill him again, then it worked. One of my favorite boss fights this game was actually the secret one. After you beat the game, if you let the credits roll, you get to fight Adam Drysocks, or whatever his name is. Spoilers again! He swallows Magnus, and you have to fight Magnus as Adam Warlock, and yeah, it's just insane. I feel like this was the best fight because Guardians of the Galaxy are naturally just a witty team. They're always talking shit in their own little way, and they get to do that literally as a part of the boss fight in this. You have to use the right dialogue in order to get him angry so he'll come down there and actually get close enough so you can stick the Mind Stone to him, which I thought was really cool. Also, some of these quick time events were some of the most iconic shots on the planet. Like the shot that I used in the thumbnail, it is a screenshot I took in the game while I was playing it. There's a lot of those iconic moments, and I love when games do that where it has like an iconic movie scene when it's a cutscene. I feel like more games need to do that instead of just having these like beautiful worlds with no actual cinematography. I don't know why you would waste such beauty and not actually give it the perfect shot. Back on the story, the way you constantly get teased about Nikki being your daughter, only to find out that she actually isn't, blew my damn mind. Can't get behind why they would change that either, because I love the idea of Karel and having the loss of Karel and having to raise the child you didn't even know you had. I was kind of imagining like this saving her and having to deal with fatherhood in like a future game or series, almost like a God of War kind of deal. But nope, she becomes her own hero. And she's not actually your daughter. She's like adopted. And even if, I feel like they could have just left it and had it end kind of like the latest Thor movie did where, you know, he has to raise a kid. I don't know why they couldn't just do that. I kind of hated the way that they ended that character, and I wish they would have actually, you know, kept the best part of the game alive, the craziest part, because that's the biggest difference between the movies and the games. It was the fact that he was going to be a father. Now, I know I said big boss fights and stuff like that were really fun, and they could be annoying at times, but tell you what is really annoying. I did not like how many NPCs were in some areas. Even though I had it on easy, I feel like I was just getting like swarmed by bees. Sometimes I was so lazy, not even that I couldn't win the fight, but I just did not want to fight for 25 minutes to beat all these people. I just avoid the fight altogether and run to where I needed to go and just progress. I don't have to kill them. I can let the enemy live another day. I didn't feel like having to steamroll all those guys for the next 30 minutes. I was kind of trying to speed run the game in a sense too, because again, I was like, oh, why did I have to get attached? Just beat the game. Anyways, guys, I think I've rambled on enough. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comments below. If you have any other ideas, any games really that you guys want me to revisit, old or new, and you guys want to see my video on it, just let me know and I'll try my best to get to them. I have a list of games I need to get through right now, but I just don't know when I'm going to get around to them. I wish there was a way I could play the old Avengers game now, but I'm pretty sure it was removed off of all stores. I'm curious if that game was just bad or got a lot of hate because it was buggy or what. I wonder how the story actually goes. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you guys for keeping me going and continuing this. You guys have been super supportive, and I'm really close to getting monetized, so if you guys keep watching these videos, I'd really appreciate it. Bye, guys, and that's it. Bye.
I can see by
Come
the
on,
size
bro.
of your weapon that you must be a skillful warrior.
Perhaps I can give you a demonstration sometime.
She's got some riz on her, I'm going to admit that
Make an
much.
acceptable opponent.
Or lover.